Okay, guys, it's January 18th, 2021. Trump signed an executive order today. It's linked on the TRUMPSARA site. Executive order on protecting law enforcement, officers, judges, prosecutors, and their families. Sounds to me, in my personal opinion, that they're expecting a lot of civil unrest, and it's not going to be the Trump supporters, because they're not going to do that. So it's interesting how this is going to play out. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Purpose, so under the Constitution and federal law, our government vests in judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers the power to make decisions of enormous consequences. Because of the importance of their work, these public servants face unique risk to their safety and the safety of their families. Some who face or have received an adverse judicial decision have sought to intimidate or punish judges and prosecutors with threats of harm. More judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers are symbols within our community of law and order and may be targeted for that reason alone. And at times, family members of public servants have become victims. Last year, a former litigant before a federal judge in New Jersey tragically murdered the judge's son and critically wounded her husband. Judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers' resiliency in the face of danger they regularly face is an inspiration for us all in public service. Judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers should not have to choose between public service and subjecting themselves and their family to danger. My administration has no higher priority than preserving the rule of law in our country and protecting the men and women who serve under its flag. Accordingly, I am ordering enhanced protection for judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers. Federal law already allows federal and state law enforcement officers to protect themselves by carrying a concealed firearm. But the federal government can do more to cut the red tape that federal law enforcement officers must navigate to exercise their right. The current threat to federal prosecutors also demands an expansion of their ability to carry a concealed firearm, as allowed under the Department of Justice's existing authorities. Finally, the Congress should act expediently to adopt legislation extending the right to carry a concealed firearm to federal judges and pass other measures that will expand our capacity to combat threats of violence against judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement. So letting judges carry firearms. So this is not going to be the corrupt cabal judges. This is going to be the judges under the new constitutional law. That's what that's what I'm going to say, yeah. Removing obstacles to federal law enforcement officer qualifying for concealed carry under the law enforcement. All right, so so they were preventing them from carrying firearms and making them making them vulnerable. Okay. It shall be the policy of the United States to remove any undue obstacle preventing current or retired federal law enforcement officers from carrying a concealed firearm as allowed under the law enforcement. So that would mean probably lots of different laws in different states. Might involve marijuana law, might involve domestic violence stuff. I mean, there's a lot of laws. They're kind of clearing the path for these guys to be able to protect themselves from the civil unrest that's coming. The heads of all executive departments and agencies that employ or have employed qualified law enforcement officers or qualified retired law enforcement officers, as those are defined in the LEOSA, shall act expeditiously to implement the policy set by blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's another section in here I read some of. So basically they're getting ready for civil unrest on every level. Okay, identify any obstacle that the agency's qualified law enforcement officers or qualified retired law enforcement officers presently face in carrying a concealed firearm. So, this one day before his last full day, it's just fascinating how this is all playing out. Okay. Let's see, Section 3, authorizing concealed carry by federal prosecutors. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall propose a regulation revising the section that the special deputization as a Deputy United States Marshal shall be granted upon request to any federal prosecutor when the federal prosecutor or his family faces harm. So they instantly turn into a federal agent and they can arrest the person. And this is set to go a month out, so he's clearly not expecting Biden to be in. Because Biden could just overturn it with executive order the first day. Why bother? Included with the special deputization, the power to possess and carry firearms but not include law enforcement powers, such as the power to make arrests for violations of federal law and the court-related duties of United States Marshals. Okay, require appropriate training in firearms. And again, it's 30 days. Okay, so yeah, it's federal judges and anyway, this is on whitehouse.gov, or you can search executive orders and then it comes up in today's stuff. I might put the link in the description bar, but I might forget. So there's your heads up. Authorize current and former federal judges and current and former federal prosecutors to possess or carry firearms when they or their family member face risk of harm. Promote the removal and minimization of personal identifiable information from public websites and records of current and former judges, okay, and law enforcement as appropriate as allowed under the Constitution, because we're going back to constitutional law. Okay, authorize additional appropriation and authority for the Department of Homeland Security, Marshal Service, and Federal Bureau of Investigations, including appropriations to hire and train additional personnel and authority for agencies to respond to both civil unrest and threats to federal courthouses. Okay, increased penalties for those violence. Okay. And that was today. So, yeah, very interesting. God bless you all.